If you want to put him in jail for 20 years, might I suggest contributing funds? Because I really don't want to pay to house, feed, and entertain this guy for the second third of his life, and then repeat for the last third because he can't find a job due to the fact that he's a convict. Listen, okay? I mean, who's being punished here? Right? Listen, nobody doubts that this is a problem, but vengeance is not an answer. It might make you feel good about yourself, but maybe you should seek help if vengeance makes you feel good about yourself. Deterrence doesn't work. It's just a waste of resources that could be better spent on things that actually work. Maybe you can have a bake sale to raise money to pay for food and shelter for rapists. Because, like I say, I don't want to pay for it. I'm really ultimately reacting to a different concept of freedom. You want to punish this guy? Don't put him in jail. Make him go to work. Okay, make him work at Walmart for 20 years. But you have to discard the concept of a free market first. You have to discard labor as freedom and understand it properly as slavery. Understand it property as slavery, yeah. It's subversive, okay? What's not subversive is, punishment, fire, brimstone. Leftists yell and scream that the Christian social order is a failure, and they're right. But they're not able to address the crux of the matter, okay? It's a tool rather than an end to itself. And so long as we accept these capitalist social norms, we're stuck in their self-perpetuation, okay? The system that puts this man, or this person in jail for 20 years is the system that created him in the first place. You're never going to see outside the cave. You're stuck. And you think this is a solution, but it's just the continuation of the problem. Might come off poorly to some people, but this guy doesn't need punishment. He doesn't need jail. He doesn't need lashes. He doesn't need to suffer. That's not going to help anybody. What he needs is to understand that what he did is wrong. And what society needs is for other people that are thinking about doing what he did to know that it's wrong. Most people understand nowadays. Well, I say most. I think that's maybe a little bit too generous, but I think that we like to think that most people understand nowadays that hitting your kids doesn't work. The reason that hitting your kids doesn't work is because it doesn't teach them anything. Or at least it doesn't teach them what you're trying to teach them. It teaches them something about violence. It teaches them something about hierarchy and control. But it doesn't teach them that they shouldn't have stolen the cookies out of the cookie jar, or they should have come home on time, or whatever is the thing that, My father was very opposed to capital punishment. My mother was less so, but she couldn't. Every time my mom tried to hit me, she ended up crying. She wasn't opposed to it, but she just couldn't do it. The only time I ever got hit was by my stepfather. And I can only really remember once. And it was because I came home late. That's why that example came up. And all I remember thinking was the next time I come home late, or the next time I'm out late, I'll go to my dad's. Like, it didn't teach me anything other than ways to scheme out of the punishment. And this is an issue in our society that's a lot broader than this case. And it's a lot broader than rape. What is the problem that we have on Wall Street? Is that we have a culture where people are constantly trying to evade the law. because they're not taught what's right. They're not taught what the right decisions are. To an extent, they don't even. To an extent, they're taught that there isn't anything that's right. And so the regulation scheme becomes around trying to find ways to catch them, rather than just teaching people what's right and wrong. And if we can't get out of this, then this will continue to happen, right? It may not satiate, your bloodlust, but like I say, that's a reflection of your own mental illness. We all live in this society. Okay? We're all damaged by it. Some of us more so than others, right? But rather than argue that you have some right to carry out your anger or to work through your vengeance, right? We need to collectively understand that your own vengeance, your own violence, is a function of the system itself, okay? And you need to work that out as much as he needs to work his issues out. Okay, we all have issues. And the solution here is that we all need to understand what's right and what's wrong. Now, in this circumstance, and I've made this argument myself, right? He really didn't understand what was right and wrong. Could you be that naive? Okay. But there's a difference between understanding what is right and wrong in a category, in a categoristic sense, okay, and understanding what is right and wrong in in an actual sense, right? Understanding that this is something that isn't to be done, right? And it's not deterrence, it's not violence that is going to come to a conclusion here. It's education. And like I say, I know it's offensive, you're triggered, but you're wrong. And I'm not gonna back off. I'm not gonna bow down to some, rule of discourse. I'm gonna argue with you. Your vengeance here is not acceptable. Your anger, your call for violence is not justified. Your emotions must be held in check. You need to look at it rationally, not in terms of anger and violence and retribution. This is the cave, right? That's all you've ever known. That's all you've ever seen. It's what the system pushes down on you. You are angry because of the Christian social order, not in spite of it. And transcending the order that you understand as the problem, okay, it means transcending your emotions. Or, you could stay chained to the wall, and watch the shadows forever. I don't have a lot of faith in the idea that any of us are outside the cave, right? Or are going to get out of it anytime soon. I think that this cave has a long way to go before it gets smashed.